Let's look at the third exam for the quarter, and let's see what we can do with it. The first question, if the hypotenuse of the right triangle is 6. So, you know what, let's try to draw a right triangle here. So let us assume that this is equal to 6, this is the right angle, and one leg is 5, so this is 5. Then the other leg is, so I don't know what this one is, so I'm going to call this one as x. Since we have a right triangle, as soon as you see the right triangle, which we can think about as the Pythagorean Theorem, that means a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And the question is, what is c? C is always the hypotenuse. So here we can write it as x squared plus 5 squared is equal to 6 squared. Then we end up getting x squared plus 25 is equal to 36, where then x squared is equal to 11 by subtracting 25 each. Now, then you want to find that the value of x, then we have to take the square root of both sides, so x will be equal to square root of 11, which is choice C. Alright, let's look at number 2 together. In a diagram, we realize that this is 120, that's 50. What is the measure of angle B? Notice that this is exterior angle once again. So here we get 50 plus x equals 120. Then what can we do? Subtract 50 from both sides. Then x will be equal to 70. So choice D becomes our answer. Alright, number 3. How many integer values of x are there? So that they're looking for integer values. Sometimes they don't mention it, so we couldn't assume it, but in this case we can. So that these 3 values could be the length of the sides of a triangle. So then first case which we have to realize is, hey, we will realize that x can be the longest. Then x has to be less than sum of the other 2 sides, which is 5 plus 8. Now, if x is not the longest, the other longest could have been 8. 8 could have been longest, then 8 has to be less than sum of the other 2 sides. Then here, first one, we end up getting x has to be less than 13, because adding 3 and 5. Second one, by subtracting 5, we get x has to be greater than 3. Then x has to be greater than 3 but less than 13, but if you have to put all of them together, we get x has to be less than 13 but greater than 3. So then how many integer values do we have? We have to count from 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So total we have 9 values. So B becomes our answer. Number 4, so here we have triangle. So let's look at, triangle. Maybe that looks like this. And I'll say this is angle C because it seems to be the biggest, 118. And that's 44. That means this one has to be B, and then this one must be A. But to find the shortest side, we have to realize that we need to find the smallest angle. Alright. Smallest angle. How do you find the smallest angle? Since we do not know the measure of the angle A, so we can figure that out by 180 minus the other 2 angles. So we get 118 plus 44. Now then this becomes 180 minus, if you combine them together, we get 162. So 180 minus 162, then it becomes 18. So here this angle becomes 18. Now then when you look at these 3 angles, which one is the smallest angle? Because opposite of that will get smallest or shortest side. Smallest angle is 18. What's the opposite of that? BC. So BC would have been our shortest side. Now let's look at number 5. Length of the sides of a triangle. How do you figure out if something is the length of the sides of a triangle? Sum of the 2 sides has to be greater than the longest. That's basically what we have to realize, greater than the longest. Now, in this case, sum of 9 and 16 is that, which is equal to 25, is that greater than 20? Yes, it is. So in fact, A would have been our answer. And you will realize that that will not be the case for B, C, and D. For example, when you add up 9 and 11, it becomes 19. And then 19 is equal to 19, not greater. So therefore, that's one. This one is out. And you can check up on C and D also. All right, number 6 here. What is the value of x? Notice that this is 3x, exterior angle. These are the two remote angles. Once again, then 3x must be equal to exterior angle, sum of the two remote angles, 2x plus 40. Now, then how are you going to do this one? Subtract 2x. Then x will be equal to simply 40. That's it. That's all you had to do. All right, let's look at number 7 together. In the diagram, okay, as soon as you see the word equilateral triangle, I want you to think about the 30, 60, 90 triangle here. So, in other words, opposite of 90 is 2x, opposite of 30 degrees is x, and opposite of 60 degrees is what? X radical 3. Radical 3. Notice that then in this case, this is 2x, this is 10. Then if you cut the altitude down, as we talked about it earlier in the class, this altitude will also cut the opposite side in half. And that would be the case in an equilateral triangle. So here we get, this one is 5. And then you can use the Pythagorean Theorem. So one method which you could have done was 5 squared plus h squared is equal to 10 squared, and then figure out the value. But second method is using this ratio. Since what is 10? 10 is opposite of 90-degree angle, which corresponds to 2x. So you could have said 10 equals 2x. Then you can easily see that x must be equal to 5. But hypotenuse is corresponding to x radical 3, while x is equal to 5. So what is h equal to? 5 radical 3 instead of x radical 3, because x was equal to 5. All right, let's look at the next question, number 8. If the length of the two sides of the triangle is 4 and 8, then this is similar to the previous question here. So 8 can be the longest side, then 4 plus x, where x being the third side here. And then, second case would have been, if x is the longest, has to be less than sum of the other two sides. So here we get x has to be less than 12, because 4 and 8. When you subtract 4 from here, then you will realize that 8 minus 4 becomes 4, which is less than these two, cancels out x. So if you have to combine these things together, we'll end up getting x has to be less than x has to be greater than 4 but less than 12. That becomes our final answer. Number 9. You see 60, you see 90, this must be 30. Then what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to bring up this idea one more time. So all right, so here it goes. Then this must be 2x. Now, they mentioned that b was 40. Then what does b correspond to? Yes, it corresponds to x. What am I looking for? Side C is the opposite of 90. What is opposite of 90? This 2x. You see, when x equals 40, what is 2x equal to? You see x equals 40, you see that by correspondence? X equals 40, what is 2x equal to? 2x would have been equal to 80. and that 2x is in fact equal to c, so c is equal to 80, and we're done. Rather simple. Number 10, find the value of x. We have to use the Pythagorean Theorem. Here, what we have to do, this is the hypotenuse, so we're going to write down 5 square root of 2 whole thing squared. How about here? 2 radical 3 whole thing squared plus x squared. Now, what I wanted you to do was this. If you have calculator, and if you have to square this one, make sure you put down the parentheses around the whole thing. Okay? So here, then we end up getting, this one becomes 12 plus x squared. This becomes 50. So by subtracting 12, x squared would have been equal to 38. Then what is the value of x? Square root of 38. And that is it. Rather simple. Number 11. We have a regular pentagon. That means we have 5-sided figure here. Regular, that means all the angles and all the sides are equal. What is the measure of the angle DEF? DEF. How do you find this angle? This is one exterior angle out of the whole thing. Now, how do you find one exterior angle? One exterior angle is found by, in a regular polygon, sum of the exterior angle divided by, in this case, 5, because we have 5 sides. But sum is equal to 360, so 360 divided by 5. That's right, it becomes 72. So 72 becomes our answer, 72 degrees. How about the second one? One interior angle is, I need to find the sum once again, divided by 5. What is the sum? Sum is 180 by the formula, 5 minus 2, and I have to divide whole thing by 5. What do we end up getting? 180 times 5 minus 2 becomes 540, divided by 5, which is equal to 108. So 108 becomes our final answer for this interior angle here, ABC. Alright, so we have done both. Let's look at number 12. Once again, we see an exterior angle, so BCD, which is 6x, plus 2 is outside, BAC, which is 3x, plus 15, and then ABC, which is 2x minus 1. You see, exterior angle is sum of the two remote angles, so we can write it as 6x plus 2 is equal to 3x plus 15 and plus 2x minus 1. Now when I combine them together, we get 6x plus 2, which is equal to 5x plus 14. By subtracting 2, we get 6x equals 5x plus 12. By subtracting 5x, then we get x equals 12. But don't forget, x is not necessarily the answer. What I'm looking for is angle BCD. So BCD, I have to put 12 in place of x. So 6 times 12 plus 2. Then here we get 72 plus 2, which is equal to 74, becomes our final answer. Alright, number 13. How do you find the value of x here? We gotta use the Pythagorean Theorem, so we have x squared plus 12 squared, which is equal to x plus 8 squared. Now, the left side is rather simple, x squared plus 144. But how about the right side? You see x plus 8 squared simply means x plus 8 times x plus 8. So x and x multiplies, we get x squared. X times 8 becomes 8x. 8 times x becomes once again another 8x. And 8 times 8 becomes 64. So if you have to combine them together, we get x squared plus 16x plus 64. Now, of course, if you have to memorize this one, then it would be much better, but at least we can distribute the values and then try to get the answer. So here we get x squared plus 16x plus 64. Now we can subtract x squared from both sides. And then I'll subtract 64 also. Then what do I get? I get 80 is equal to 16x. And by dividing it by 16, we get x must be equal to 5. Now, but is 5 my answer? No, because what I'm looking for is the hypotenuse. So 5 plus 8, 13. Then 13 becomes our final answer. Now here, how do I find the value of x? You see, in this case, what I could have done was I could look at the interior angles. So this is 60, that makes the interior angle becomes 120 because they're supplementary. 84 here, so we get 96. 68, so it becomes 112. So we have these 4 known angle, and then third angle, the last angle is not known. But what is the sum of the interior angles of the pentagon? Then the formula is 180 times 5 minus 2. Once you calculate this one, we get 540. Then to find out the x must be 540, subtracting all the other angles. 140 plus 120 plus 96 plus 112. So 540 minus, this becomes 260, and then 356, 468. Then the answer becomes 72. So then 72 becomes our final answer. All right, with this one we'll close up for now, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.